end of the week, Gauchos, and boy, are we glad to be here. It's been a long midterm season, but I hope you're all able to get some well-deserved rest this weekend. I'm Maddie Whalen, UCSB TV producer. Coming up this episode, we have news anchor Alexandra Goldberg giving us a flashback to last week's episode and her discussion of the history of Halloween in IV. Then, sports anchor Chris Williams will give us a much-needed recap on an absolutely packed week of Gaucho sports. Let's get into it. Over to you, Alexandra.
Thanks, Maddie. Hello, Gauchos. Alexandra Goldberg, news anchor here with UCSB TV. I'll be bringing you the long and complex history of Halloween in Isla Vista. Now, picture this. Tens of thousands of students flooding Del Playa Drive, people in bunny suits and banana costumes, reeking of stale beer and sweat from dancing. Red Solo cups everywhere, well, only until '86 when you weren't risking a minor in possession ticket. But don't worry. In the '80s, UCSB Halloween had its golden age, where visitors wanted to see what all of the chaos was about. And in 1985, the number of partygoers peaked at 10,000. Fights, riots, chaos, and crime. Partygoers will say UCSB Halloween was iconic. But how far did students take it before police enforcement said enough is enough? Now, why are there so many rules? Halloween riots started around 1962, but it wasn't until 1978 where the violence and arrests peaked. A 600-person party escalated when 2 officers from the Isla Vista Foot Patrol were hit by bottles from the street. The officers made 18 arrests, 7 were UCSB students, and they faced allegations of police brutality in the process, the Daily Nexus reports. One alum said people from all over California and out of state would come to Del Playa, transforming the street to a festival-type atmosphere with people in costumes, loud music, and house parties galore. But by the time senior year rolled around, she said she was frustrated with visitors destroying her town, burning couches, graffitiing, and trashing the streets. She said though UCSB Halloween is a unique college memory, she understands the restrictions are necessary to preserve the amazing community of Isla Vista. That was Nikki Wood, class of 1991. Now, speaking of restrictions, let us fast forward to Halloween weekend 2021. In an email sent out by the UCSB Student Life, the university imposes a no-guest policy on students living in university housing. This encourages friends from out of town to, well, stay out of town. The school also recommends students to move their cars onto campus by purchasing a parking permit for about $50, as there's restricted parking access, tow-away areas, and roadblocks in place that whole weekend. There's also a festival ordinance from this past Tuesday, the 26th, until November 4th, meaning no live or recorded music can be heard from your house after 6 p.m. And then there's another ordinance about hosting and attending events that block the street. But you can find all of this information online at halloween.as.ucsb.edu. Halloween at UCSB, a legend like no other. UCSB TV, I'm Alexandra Goldberg. On to you, Chris.
Hey Gauchos, and happy week, whatever it is. I'm Chris Williams, your UCSB TV sports anchor and guy who loves a woman with deep eyes that are mystical. I'm a firm believer that a person's eyes are the windows to their soul. I'm also a firm believer that every college dorm should have windows. Munger Hall. I wonder why the average GPA of our environmental studies program has dropped. Oh yeah, half the students in Munger Hall are environmental studies major and they don't get to experience the environment anymore. I think they should install a retractable roof, and every day it opens at noon for just 1 hour of sunlight. The residents of Munger Hall are in the courtyard like the aliens from Toy Story. Ooh, the sun. I'm just saying, it should be sponsored by Febreze. It's gonna smell. Look, if you're a UCSB sports fan, these next few days are very exciting. On Tuesday, November 9th, the women's soccer team opens their season against LMU at the Thunderdome. And they'll be led by seniors Taylor Mole and junior Isla Lane, both of which were selected to preseason All-Big West coaches team. Now, Gauchos, I'm telling you, this team is special. Isla's holding down the paint and rejecting people like she's the new class registration policy, and they're trying to register for 3 classes during pass 1. It ain't happening. On top of that, the men's basketball team opens their season on Wednesday the 10th against San Francisco State. And look, last year the Gauchos made it to the big dance after missing the cut for 10 years. And of course, the season didn't end the way that we all would have hoped, but they showed up and represented. So make sure that you show up on Wednesday to give them some love. Now, this Saturday at Harder Stadium, it's going to be rocking as the men's soccer team begins their journey through the Big West tournament. Despite a loss last week, the squad is ranked #1 and will be looking to take on UC Davis or CSU Bakersfield. So show up and show out. But for me, the real shout out goes to our women's soccer team, who had their ups and downs this season but kept on battling. Look, last week our women's team found some classic sports magic against Long Beach State. With 1 minute left in their season, Lindsey Porter found Claire Grauwinkle for a game-winning, season-saving Big West Tournament seed-clinching goal. That is right. The ladies were getting ready to end their season, but thanks to some late-game heroics, they made it to the Big West Tournament where they took on UC Irvine. While the ladies ultimately lost to Irvine in the first round of the tournament, it's important to acknowledge their resilience. I know this was a tough season, but you kept fighting, and you have to be very proud of yourselves. We are proud of you. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Back to you, Maddie.
Thanks, Chris. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. And next week is going to be a surprise for us all. We'll see what news stories come up until then. But I can guarantee you'll be hearing from us about Munger Hall. And if you haven't heard about it yet, well, you're lucky. Anyways, Gauchos, have a fabulous weekend, and I hope you find a way to celebrate the noise ordinances being lifted. I'm Maddie Whalen, UCSB TV. We'll see you next week.